we have to create the right vibe, the energy, and everybody at the organization has to feel so privileged to be here. It's no other way.
Thanks for listening to the Purely Arsenal podcast. Please follow us on Twitter at PurelyArsenalFP for all the latest Arsenal podcasts.
Welcome to another edition of a Purely Arsenal sit-down podcast. I am joined by my regulars, and it's Neil Shah with me. And we're not smiling, how you doing, Neil?
Atlas.
Yeah. It was a tough one, wasn't it? It was going to be a tough one to talk about, but, we've got to do it. We'll feel better after it. That's what I always say. James Johnstone, how you doing, James?
Yeah, I apologise to the people that are watching and not just listening. They've already had one long-haired monster ruin their day yesterday, and now they've got to deal with me, haven't they? So
why do you have to undo the hairband and then go and score, though? I mean, that's just like throwing at you.
Was it his bloody eyes as well?
Oh
and he still tucks it in. That's how good he is.
I mean, the thing with Haaland is I don't particularly dislike the bloke. There's some players on City that I really dislike. We'll get into that a little bit. Grealish being one of them. What a tosser Grealish is. I really don't like him. People forget a lot of the stuff he did off the pitch as well, during. But Haaland he's just annoyingly good. I mean, he's just so good. But we allowed him to be good, didn't we? I mean, let's be honest. We didn't make it hard for him. He ain't taking his hairband off in too many games, is he? So. But look, I think we talked about the lineup more than we ever have done all season, really, for this one. And lo and behold, he doesn't change a thing about it, which made the last 3 days of text messages. We just delete the last 3 days of the WhatsApp, I think. But I'll go to you first, James, on the lineup, because Neil hates lineup stuff. But I mean, hindsight's wonderful, but we can't say it's hindsight when we're all evaluating different ways of setting up. I think the last thing a large proportion of us wanted, although we probably expected it, was us to go again with the same thing when we've seen over the past 3 games there's been pretty serious issues for this team in terms of its ability to defend, see out games, play consistent football for 90-minute periods. I mean, I'm sure you weren't surprised, but were you a little bit frustrated with I guess you've got to call it stubbornness, but...
Yeah, I was, yeah. I mean, I've said it since you guys have kindly let me back into the podcasting realm. We play the occasion sometimes, and not the team. And we've done that under the last managers that we've had, not just Mikel, under the last ones. And if you can't see, after playing bottom of the league and shipping 3 goals, get dominated by bottom of the league, that you think you can play the exact same system with the only tweak being Granit Xhaka, who has had, as far as I'm aware, diarrhea or whatever for the last week or so, and expect to go to this Man City that's purring at the moment and think you're going to get a result. I'm sorry, I think it's quite brain dead. If we'd have done something different but still lost, I wouldn't be as hurt as I am now, because I would have gone, well, do you know what? At least we tried to do something. That yesterday, to go exactly the same, like I said, apart from swapping Granit Xhaka in, was ridiculous. And the only thing I can think is it's because Mikel Arteta, and I'm not trying to tear into him, and but I always say it as I see it. I'm not one of these overly toxically positive people, regardless of what's happened. I've got to say what I see. And he wants the scalp of the I've done Pep Guardiola at his own game in this way. And again, people have said to me, oh yeah, but we haven't got the personnel. I don't want to disrespect anyone that comes on this podcast's football knowledge, but like you said, we've had since Southampton sending formations to each other. That would work. Oh yeah, that would do that. If we can see this, why can't these guys that are paid the mega bucks? Because as soon as you saw that lineup, if you're really being honest with yourself, you thought there's about 3 or 4 goals they're going to score here.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and I was not surprised, but I was extremely bewildered that he'd looked at the last few games and just gone, yeah, we're gonna. And his comments after the game, Neil, were, well, I mean, he's always relatively honest. I think post games, pre games, he doesn't tell you a thing. Says Saliba's fit, but post games, he's pretty honest. But he said a couple of things that just frustrate me a little bit. One was, when they asked him about changing the lineup, he basically said, well, you've got to remember what got us here. But this lineup didn't get us there. This lineup's got us to the point where we're about to, what people would say, bottle the title or whatever. And I found that a little bit frustrating, almost like oblivious to what you're seeing over the last 3 or 4 games. But then he was also very, very honest, and he said, they were better than us all over the pitch, and at times you just have to accept that. And I think most likely, no matter what we did, Neil, we probably would have lost this game based on the personnel that we had available. I think that's probably true. I would have liked to see us do something different. I thought we could have made it a lot harder for them. I thought we could have been in the game a lot more. I thought we could have got key players on the ball a lot more. Is that the biggest frustration? Not that you lose it, because I'm sure we all we haven't won this since 2012. We're under no illusions as to how difficult it is for this team to go and win at a place like this. Is it the fact that on the world stage, we're a team that we, have loved more than many in the last decade, hasn't really shown its true colours?
Yeah, I just feel that 12 wins now in a row that they've had against us, I think, in the league at the Etihad. 12 wins on the trot. I mean, that's telling in itself.
Sickening, isn't
it? We talk about bogey teams. They're obviously one of them away, aren't they? It's very nice they've got a couple of FA Cup wins over them, but we need to be doing it in the league. And I just sat there, just dumbfounded. I mean, I'm trying to seek positives. I saw none. It's telling that our man of the match was Ramsdale when we lost 4-1. That's telling, isn't it? That's for starters. I sat there watching it. And I thought, this isn't boys against men. This is men against infants. They're still in their diapers. It was our worst performance of the season at the time when we need to put in our best performance of the season, and that is the real punch. The real kick in the teeth. We've come this far. We've done all of this. We've answered all the questions, and then when it really matters, we do this. Chasing shadows, looking bereft, looking scared, paying them too much respect, not playing our game at all, him trying to beat him at his own game, where, I'm sorry, where was Trossard? Jesus, for me, did absolutely zero in that game. Zero. And I'm not sitting there. Only last week, Jack, we were saying how amazing he is and how there's no way I want him to be replaced. I still sit with that. But sorry, this is the most important game of the season. He came out with all that stuff himself in interviews. What did he do? I mean, and I'm not blaming him. I thought everyone was well, not at it. And yes, I will agree with you saying that even if he had different personnel, the outcome probably would have been the same, because they are now. This is the frightening thing. There's me saying right from the start, I think we've got this in the bag. And I was saying, look at us. We're performing so much better. We're answering all the questions. Where things are not going so well, we lost Jesus. We answered all the questions. We lost Partey. We answered all the questions. We lost Zinchenko. We answered all the questions. And I thought, this is so different. This team has got fight in them. This is just a different team. And then, I'm not saying we lost it yesterday, because we didn't. It's the last 3 games prior. Liverpool one you could excuse to a certain degree. In fact, it was the Liverpool one where we were dominant for most of the game in all 3, actually, ironically. And it's so disappointing that we just seem to capitulate at the very wrong time. Yes, we can all be jumping up and down, and we should be. We should be. Funny, I was feeling better yesterday night after the game than I know. I think maybe having about 2 minutes sleep hasn't helped, but I'm just like, what is this nonsense? You know, think about all the fans, all the heartache we've gone through, even to get them in tickets this season. All the effort the away fans make, to get the away fans make to go, and they have been so well rewarded by our club. They've been so well rewarded by the way Arteta has set his team up, and I just feel like, why have we just let it go at the business end of the season? Now that could be down to inexperience. That could be down to it is a young squad. That it is quite a thin squad. So I'm going to play devil's advocate now. I'm just going to say for one moment that on reflection and looking at it from the other side of the coin, having the second youngest squad in the league, having an inexperienced manager in a way, his first job. Hello, doggy. It's his first job. And all of that, and also having to deal with key injuries, Saliba being the most notable one and most potent one. We ain't done bad, have we? We're still top of the table, 2 points clear, and we're in the Champions League, and we've done what we set out to do. So in that respect, I congratulate the whole club. Well done, brilliant. But it just feels almost empty at the moment. I can't explain it.
No, you're disappointed.
And that's it.
It's tremendously disappointing. And there'll be, Arteta will be. I have no doubts he'll be ruthless with some of the things we're seeing, and he won't forget it. Come first day of the summer, and as we move into the window, and I'm excited for those moments. It's probably the most excited I've been. But this is from someone that, and I definitely think he's made a lot of mistakes over the last 3 or 4 games, Arteta, but I can't disregard what he's done over the whole season. Like today was also yesterday for you guys was very disappointing. My biggest frustration was that we just couldn't get our key players anywhere near the ball. And although you're going to look at that and go, well, they were poor. But I think when you look at Saka, Martinelli, even Odegaard to a certain extent, who was dreadful for the third goal, absolutely dreadful. But they just weren't on the ball enough. They just weren't on the ball. Even Jesus, I heard people ruining Jesus. And he's coming deep and he's doing things that he tried, but just not getting him on the ball in key areas. We really weren't in the game. We had 48% of the ball, but I want to say a large proportion of that was on our back line, because I didn't even know Xhaka was playing for about 20 minutes. We've started games terribly over the last few months at times, Liverpool being one of the exceptions, but James, we could have been 1-0 down early doors. They came at us really fast, and we could have given a penalty away. They didn't give it. I don't think personally necessarily it was, but there wasn't a huge difference between that movement and the Jota one. All that was reversed. Do you know what I mean? So when I was watching it back and they showed the replay on it, I initially went, they're giving this, which made me think, it's definitely possible. Funnily enough, whilst I didn't think the ref was absolutely dreadful, there were some terrible decisions that actually went against us in the end. But, I don't think we can focus too much on the ref because it was just such a poor overall performance. First goal, James, I mean, you could lay the blame in a lot of places, but it's odd because it really mimics what they tried to do in the first game as well. They went long a lot. They went long a lot in the first game against them, and they go long again. Holding does his normal thing of getting far too tight to players that are far better than him without realising. I hate that he does that. He did it against Tottenham last season. Son was far too good for him, and he kept getting too tight. So what does he do? Haaland, best striker in the league, and he's literally covering himself in him. He's going to do you. And it's really easy for De Bruyne to just kind of climb through our whole, midfield and defence. But I guess they don't expect him to shoot it from there so early. But that is Kevin De Bruyne for you. But James, again, just a terrible start. And Arteta said you can't really see the game plan when you do that. But we're doing it so often that throw the game pan out the window. You might as well, mightn't you?
Yeah, I mean, you've summed it up again there brilliantly. That we're talking about how we didn't do anything different. In the two, we've played them 3 times, but it's the 2 in the league. When have you seen Man City over the last, decade or so, even when they had the likes of Dzeko and that Negredo and whoever else, when have you seen them pump a long ball like that? Man City going long ball. Because they get Arsenal in foot races, because we'll smash them, and they did. They smashed us to bits, and that again, like you just summarised there, long ball and Rob Holding, Neil, you said about positives. The only positive I could take was that Rob Holding's got more goals than Richarlison. But that means I'm really, do you know what I mean? I'm really clutching to find something there. At least he's got more goals than Richarlison, eh? But yeah, no, Rob Holding in that situation, mate, he's a narcoleptic skydiver. He snoozed, he's loosed. You know, it's a shocker, mate. It's an absolute shocker. I've got to give credit. Pete, you're saying about the finish and how he's passed it. It's class, mate. As soon as that went in, I went, "Oh, that's a brilliant goal." I'm sorry. I'm like, it's a kick in the nuts, but that's a brilliant goal.
Got to get closer to him, don't we?
Yeah, and I just don't know, mate. I really don't know. Too many of them, like you said, too many of the big boys underperform. It says a lot when the subs, who are, you know, you got Neil screaming for Smith Rowe and Nelson and Trossard. These guys have put more effort in than these established people. They looked more comfortable. Our best sort of like period in the game is when Jorginho and all them come on, and it just beggars belief.
Played with far too much fear, didn't we?
Yeah. I mean, Nelson, when he come on, he looked incredible. He was cooking. He was skidding people. He looked like he had a bit about him, and I don't know. Again, I said it on Mike's pod after the Southampton game. When I was there watching it, you were asking Rob Holding. I know he's got the hairband now and he looks like Pirlo, but he's not Pirlo. It was like you were asking him to facilitate your whole game from the back, a bit like what Saliba can do. He's not got that passing ability or that passing range. It's ridiculous. And again, you like you said earlier, he had 89 touches of the ball. Martinelli had 11. That just shows you how bad we were at giving the players that we're expecting to do the business the ball. They were just completely taken out. Carl Walker has had all sorts go on this season, off and on the pitch. He looked excellent yesterday. That Akanji's their, third or fourth choice centre-back. He's playing at left-back. He looks brilliant. It's just all, you know, when you're dealing with an absolute mega power of a machine like they are, you've got to do something, like we keep saying, you've got to do something different. How can you go there with that thinking you're going to win like that? It's just, it's so disappointing. Like Neil said, you get, you know, it hurts you, but at the same time, you've got people telling me that, you know, we've bottled this and we've chucked it. You can feel it to an extent, but at the same time, people are trying to tell me this side are worse. If they win the treble, how can they be the worst City that's been?
Nonsense. That's just us. That's just people trying to get under our skin in it. We know what they are. We know what they are, and since the turn of the year, they've been the best side in the league. And before that, I think we were. But a lot changed after that. And the frustrating thing for me is I've been so impressed by Mikel Arteta and his ability to establish such a philosophy in the way we play that it's almost repeatable in every game. And let's be honest, we were going into games this season just knowing, not necessarily that we were going to win all the time, but knowing exactly what we were going to see. Right, we knowing exactly what we were going to see. But the problem I have is when things change and you're clearly not playing in that same way because of injuries, you're now low on confidence. I think some players aren't the same. Thomas Partey being one of them, Zinchenko being another one. Thomas Partey's drop off in the last month or two has been mental, but I think it's largely to do with not having the right structure around him. You know, the Salibas and people like that he doesn't feel he has to drop so deep and do two roles and all that sort of stuff. But when we beat them in the FA Cup semi-final, obviously very, very early in the Arteta era, Arteta had a completely different way of playing for a short-term period just to try to get us through those games. We had 29% possession in that game. We had 29% possession, and we won 2-0. We had a back three of Mustafi, Tierney, and David Luiz. Right? This is still a top City side that some people are arguing better than the one we played yesterday. The point I'm trying to make is Liverpool beat them 1-0 at home this season. They had 36% of the ball. We had 48% of the ball yesterday. You have to play in a different way sometimes against certain teams, especially when your perfect way of playing is compromised. and it's been so evident that you can't do it against the bottom of the league team. So, Neil, the stubbornness bugs me, and I think this is a large reason as to why we haven't been doing very well in two-legged cup competitions under Mikel Arteta as well, because I think a lot of those are very tactical. They're not always down to like playing your normal style. You sometimes have to adapt to it. Like Rafa Benitez, for example, was a great cup coach. Do you want him to manage you in the league? Absolutely not. You fall asleep. So I just think when you play City, they're such a good team. They're such on a level. There's no weakness whatever there. You have to find a different way. Like if you watch Liverpool play City, they don't play the same way as they do with everyone else. They go long, they ping it wide to Salah, to Mane, and they win the second ball. We didn't do any of that, Neil. And I was just frustrated that we didn't try something different when we knew Plan A clearly hadn't been working.
Yeah, I mean, I actually saw it coming. I know you guys were brilliantly looking at different possibilities, different personnel, different formations, and I was just wiped away with your knowledge, and I was impressed. But in the back of my mind, I was thinking, he ain't going to change nothing. And I think you said it as well, Jack. I thought if he was going to change something, it would have been against Southampton. He didn't do anything. So I honestly, I actually now believe if Xhaka wasn't fit, he would have still played Vieira. I really believe that. Do you know that? And I had quite a smile to myself when I saw the lineup. So I was in the gym. I got back late from the gym, and then I thought, wow, Xhaka's there, so that's why he's playing. I bet his bottom dollar, if he wasn't, Vieira would have been on that starting lineup again. And look how well Jorginho played when he came on. Look how well Trossard played again. All right, Emma Smith-Rowe wasn't probably, but I mean, I don't blame him. I think he's now starting to feel, am I part of this future?
That's what sell him.
And, Reece Nelson, as James said, was arguably probably one of our better outfield players. When I did say earlier it was Ramsdale that was man of the match. And I feel cheated for them in a way that Arteta isn't trying something different. I'm not just hearing it from you guys. I've been hearing it from other people. I've been seeing it on the media, on the social medias. Why is he? I think because he's enjoyed so much success this season by keeping to the same kind of system. He's probably just thought this is going to see us through, and that for me stinks of inexperience. And this is where being the youngest, or one of the youngest managers, I don't know if he still is, has maybe given us, it's been part of the problem. I'm not saying it's the whole problem. Losing key personnel, i.e. Saliba, is the biggest, I think one of the biggest issues. Because you said it, and I've said it in a last couple of pods, that's why I think everyone's having a go at Partey. But I think that one of the biggest reasons is because he's missing Saliba, and it has imbalanced him, let alone the team, but it's also imbalanced him and his thought process of how he was playing before. And it was telling in the last game without even Xhaka by his side, but he had Xhaka yesterday. Didn't make any blooming difference because I don't know what I was watching. I was watching it, and for once, I didn't fall away from it thinking, this is all over. I mean, I joked with you guys when it was 2-0 saying if they go 3 or 4, then I'm going to switch over to Ahmed Saleh, but I didn't. I did stick to it right to the final whistle. But I was watching it almost like a zombie because I thought, you're right, we're not getting any of our danger players involved at all. We can blame Jesus for having an off game. We can blame Martinelli. We can blame the Sackers and all the rest of it. But actually, they weren't getting the ball at all. We were our 48 possession. You're right, Jack. Probably 40% of it was at the back when we had it.
Yeah,
trying to defend our lines. We were lucky we didn't lose that 8-9-1. And everyone normally says to me that you're always positive, and even after a loss. I am positive because I think overall we have done really well this season. But I can't be positive about that game because I have to be factual. The facts are we were utterly bereft of anything. And I just hope going into next season now, and even going into the next 5 games, he starts changing it up. Yeah, because
that'll be very interesting.
At the very least, let's now fight for the last 5 games. Let's at least make sure. I don't know if second is still
Man United win their game is in hand.
Yeah.
It'll be 7 points behind us.
Right. So we've still got to do a bit of work to secure second, right? So let's do that. Let's Arteta now show a little bit of how can we say not ambition, but what's the other word I'm looking for? Enterprise. Just show something different for the last few games. Listen to the Jack Sessions and the James and the Michaels of this world and try and just implement a little bit something different and see how you go. Because Jack, you made a very good point about the FA Cup semi-final. The way that he's set up there, he didn't look to mimic or mirror what Pep does. I think he's got it in his head that I want to beat him at his own game. And if that's what it is, that's quite damning of you, mate. Don't be like that. You're better than that. You're a very smart and astute young man who's done so much good for us this season. So have that inability to just be a little bit flexible and have even the bravery and the courage to adapt, even at a crucial time like this in the season. I think it's a little bit too late now, but let's go out with the bang now. Let's go out with our heads held high, with a bit of pride. Let's go. You know what? All right, it's been a rubbish 4 games. It's been a rubbish month. April is the worst month of our season. However, we've got 5 games left. Let's at least push them to make them win their games in hand, to make them really. I know it's inevitable. It's probably it's not impossible, but it's improbable. But let's make them work for it even now. And I'd like to see Arteta do a bit of what your guys' thinking is. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, it would be nice to give us a little vision into the future of what he might be doing in the summer with how he kind of plays the next few games. Because I think that's in my head that's confirmed that we should finish second at this point. I don't see anything else bar a complete collapse, which is probably at this point more likely than City dropping those 2 games that they might have to drop or whatever it is for us to catch them. So hopefully we do enough to just at the very least confirm that we'll finish second. We don't have complete drop off, because that would be really unfortunate with such a good start to the season. We had the second goal, James. There could have been 2 or 3 up before it. I think it's important to say that before we bring in referee decisions and things like that. But to be fair, it is a huge goal in the complexity of the game, in the context of the game. Sorry, and it's offside. They admit to it at half time, but basically a PGML apparently admit to it as offside. Very odd, because you can tell it's offside from the initial look. I actually looked away for a minute, and then I had a look at my phone, and you boys were saying it's 2-0. And I was like, what am I looking at here? And the line that we actually saw, I don't know if you've got the same for your TV, but the line that actually gave it onside, you never actually see the ball in it. All you're seeing is the players. The only one that looks very obviously offside is when you actually see the ball being kicked. Very dodgy, mate. I mean, I don't want to go into referee conspiracy stuff or anything like that, but that's a shocking decision, isn't it? Especially as Ben White has been pushed as well.
Yeah, that's where my vote of contention is that I'm like, he's being pushed. Now, again, you got 2 sides of the coin here, because I remember coming on this podcast after the first game of last season and going, bloody hell, Bernd Leno, you weakling. Like, how do you let him push you like that? I've got to say the same for White. Sorry, you've got to be stronger there. Yeah. Because when it's, especially with De Bruyne and the way, he could put a ball on a sixpence, they're going to push and shove for every single. I mean, look how many free kicks and everything they had that had to be retaken, or even when we had corners, the ref come in and had, because Gabriel and Haaland are having a tug at each other, or this one's having a push at him and a pull at him. Just got to be tougher in that situation. But yeah, every single replay, like you said, did not show the ball. It just showed the players.
Very strange.
And yeah, I didn't understand it. My initial thought when it happened was, he's well offside. And normally, I'm the first one to go, oh, no, that's on. Yeah, we're again, like we always say, we say what we see, and we could accept it. But yeah, I don't know. It must be something about us going to Manchester and getting cheated, because that's. I mean, like we were going to get a result there anyway, but still, that's twice now we got up there.
Our record, I mean, we've been fantastic. I think we still have maybe the best away record in the league. Maybe City have caught us now. It's quite possible, but we had the best away record in the league up until the Liverpool game. I know that much. But our record up north is dreadful. I mean, we lost to Everton, we lost to United, we lost to City, we drew with Liverpool. We're about to play Newcastle. We're going to lose that one as well.
You don't get further up north than there, mate. So
no, and we're going to lose that because we always seem to play Newcastle around this time of year, and they're playing for a lot more in theory now than we are in a way. You know what I mean? Like that, top four is still on the line for them, and I think a large proportion of our players and our manager will know deep down that we're probably going to finish where we're going to finish, and and that'll be that, and we'll go to Newcastle. But there is, I mean, the old adage of our sort of, soft Arsene Wenger teams was, you can't go up north and all this sort of stuff. But I think I said this earlier in the season. I have some concerns about us, but I have some concerns about, our top players. We want to talk about world-class players or players that could be world-class. They do it in the biggest moments. Do you know what I mean? And I think Odegaard's a terrific player. I think Saka is. I think Martinelli is. But you have to do it in the biggest moments. And whilst I don't think we play to any of those players' strengths, they've got to also bring it themselves. And we didn't. They were non-existent really throughout. Neil, we shouldn't. I wanted Arteta out about 2 years ago, so I didn't say any of that last year. Whilst I was still in two minds, I started to see something, and I was relatively quiet about it. Although it was ended disappointingly again in terms of not getting top four. He's made a huge jump this season. We qualified for the Champions League, like you said yesterday, ironically, in such maybe our worst game of the season. We qualified for the Champions League. It's exceeded all expectations based off what our sort of belief was at the start of the season. And I definitely think he's the right man for the job. But in saying that, I do find it very frustrating that one or two key injuries to teams, like last season when we got Tierney and Partey out for a few games, can completely derail our season and the way we play. And I think he has to be better at being able to adapt squads to, what will obviously happen, which is injuries and setbacks and surprises. And I don't think he does it quick enough. I think he eventually does it, but I don't think he does it quickly enough, and it costs us a lot in the short term. I don't know if you agree with that, Neil.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the only solace that we can gain from this and may help or assist Arteta, depending on how well we do in the transfer market, is the fact that we have qualified for the Champions League is now a big plus. We probably need it more now than ever before, because I think it will help him if we can get a few big names. See, I think with Arteta, if he wanted to keep playing the same way, he needed like-for-like substitutions. I mean, on the level. I mean, there's not many Salibas in this world. There's not many Sakas in this world. Do you see what I mean? And when we lose players like that, we literally have to bring in a clone. And I think maybe by getting into the Champions League, we might be able to attract some of the big boys in the summer. And we actually now, I think we 100% need it, because we can't have a paper-themed squad now going into a new season where we're actually now playing Champions League as well. I mean, that's a different kettle of fish from the Europa. And I think that's the only way that it will help him, because, yeah, I agree with you. I think he will learn, because we have definitely, gone way over expectations, hugely. I mean, we're fighting for the title. We weren't fighting for top four. That's a massive jump, huge, from the last 2 or 3 seasons where we had a couple of 8th place finishes. It's a tremendous achievement, and I applaud the club and I applaud the boys. And I'm not going to say any different to that. I think it's an incredible, and we have to rejoice in that for sure. But it's just bittersweet, because you come so close. We were. I can't remember many seasons, guys. I'm trying to rack my brains here, where we've been pretty much top the whole season. Literally, apart from those 2 or 3 days when City went on top earlier on. And then we just got it back anyway. And then they dropped points, and then we started winning again. Apart from that small blip, I don't recall us. We're still top, ironically. We're still top this today as we speak. That's the laughable thing about it.
All
And I
change
think
at the weekend, wasn't it?
that's the gut wrenching part of it. But I think he does need to change it. Now needs to, as much as he might be telling his players what they need to do, someone needs to be telling him, right, you take stock over the summer, as well as getting involved with the Edu and the transfers. You've now got to look back and see where the holes were, and one of them being substitutions being key in certain games, maybe bringing them on a bit earlier. But more than that, the way you play, the way you set up against certain teams, you're right, so bang on about us being weaker up north. How do we now negotiate that going into the next season? And, what kind of players do we need to come in to be able to bridge that gap when we do lose key personnel next season? Because that is going to be more telling, because we are going to be in two of the hardest competitions that you can get in club football, Champions League and the Premiership. Yeah. And I don't care what anyone says, the Premiership is the hardest league in the world. So he's got to negotiate all of that. So yes, I agree with you, Jack. Yes, 100%.
I think the key there, I want to bring James in, but the key there is you've got to have 2 game a week players, because in the Champions League, the top teams don't rotate anywhere near as we would have done in the Europa League. So they genuinely do play maybe 7 of the players that they're going to play on the weekend. City even do. And obviously they get that extra day rest as well. Usually, maybe they get even 2 extra day rest, right? They could do. They could play Tuesday, Sunday as opposed to Thursday, Sunday. So there's that to take into account. You have to be able to play 2. So, for example, Thomas Partey is not a 2 game a week player. In fact, he's not even a 1 game a week player, let's be honest. So he has to be questioned whether you think he's good enough or not. And I do think Thomas Partey is a very good player. His position is up for question because he is not a 2 game a week player. And there is no doubt in my mind that we're going to buy a player that is going to have the ability to replace Thomas Partey. I think it'll be the first signing we make in the summer. And I'm almost certain of it. And I'm not placing this over, the poor form he's had over the last month. And he has been very poor, I would say, over the last month. I think we do have to be careful. We've got 2 central midfielders that are at the age of 30. And whilst you can carry a few of those players, look at the drop-off of Fabinho from one season to the next. Look at that drop-off. Look at Vieira's drop-off. Look how good Vieira was for us. And then in 2005 to 2006, he went to Juventus. He was nothing in comparison to what he was for us. Like, the drop-off is quite interesting with those players. So watch it with Thomas Partey. I'll be watching it closely. He's not quite like Granit Xhaka. Could see Granit Xhaka playing very similarly at 33, 34. I just think he also needs to be replaced as well. But I think we need to be looking at both those positions. But James, Neil said he doesn't change it. He didn't. 2-0 down at half time. I was stunned. He didn't change it even at half time. I was like, we're gonna have 3 changes at half time. He didn't change anything. He just went, go out, do the same thing again. It wasn't like it was working. The goal shouldn't have stood, but nothing was working. Couldn't get up key players on the ball. Probably too little, too late at that point anyway, James. But now Neil's right, isn't he? Now, got to make some of the changes that look into next season a little bit. Not be too cautious, not be too worried about not changing things because it's going to cost you something this season. I think we've got to believe that that's kind of gone now after this game, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of discussing the formations, players, squad development, and stuff like that with you guys. That's what I love doing. But I also love, and this is just even away from football, I love the mental side of life. And mentally, there are some of them players in there yesterday that I think know that they can perform like how they perform, because regardless, next week against Chelsea, they're still going to be in the squad. They have no threat that if they do not live up to the expectations that we have and that they've set. Like, again, I don't want people to listen to this and think, oh my God, listen to them moaning and slagging them off. I'm not tunning into them. But there were some of them yesterday that by their level, when you're not even at your bare minimum level, that's bad. Like, there were times yesterday I was screaming at Odegaard that we play in red shirts. I was like, we're in red. Martin. We play in red because he could not pass to anyone.
And the third goal proved that, didn't it? Really?
Well, there you go. And you know what? My dad can't stand Zinchenko because he's got his Scottish bias for Tierney. All year he's like, you go on about this, Zinchenko. You go on about. Yesterday is the first time where I went, he's like our Trent. He's brilliant at crossing. He's brilliant at this. But you can't defend, son. You cannot defend. Airily, he looked like like Neil said, like an infant. He just could not. He couldn't head the ball to save his life yesterday. And I was like, you're being carried, and we're in the crunch. You know, Rob Holding feels like he's being carried. Thomas Partey at the moment, he's having to do a 2-3 man job. When Saliba's there, he can play higher up, and that's how he's looked amazing all season. But at the moment, he's being carried because he looks dreadful. And you know, we got Chelsea next. We ain't kept a clean sheet since Everton on March the 1st at home. And they haven't scored, I don't think, for God knows how long. They don't look like scoring. But you could bet your bollock to a barn dance they're going to score against us.
Yeah, we've looked terrible at the back. And well, that's another thing I looked at after the last podcast was which gave me this feeling of, you know, I think it's, we lost it really in the games with West Ham and Southampton, not against City. You know,
I will say in their last 5, they normally slip up once or twice, but at the moment,
don't like it, do they? Again, they don't. They can afford to now. So,
well, they're just insane. They're just absolutely insane.
No, they are, and you know, like I said, you know, it felt like. You know, and plus you look at the goals conceded area. I mean, I think we've conceded 40 goals. You go and find a team that's won the league conceding 40 goals. You're going to have to look back a long, long time because I ain't seen it. So, you know, the writing was on the wall in many, many ways. And like, I think Odegaard summed his performance up, or the collective up, with just a 5-yard pass where he wasn't even looking. And he gives it straight to them, and suddenly, boom, it's 3-0. And it was game over, I felt, before that, because we weren't challenging them, we weren't stretching them. We tried to have a little bit more ball in the right areas early on in the second half, but we really didn't. We didn't test them. Edison, I don't recall him. Yeah, I mean, we had one chance in the first half. Thomas Partey just wide. It was a nice move. Felt a very sort of Tottenham at home kind of move. But it was too few and far between, you know, to be able to get our players up the pitch and be able to do that. They were just absolutely better than us in every department. I don't even recall seeing Rodri. I think Pep Guardiola said something at the end of the game, and he said, I asked Rodri not to move. I asked him to stay still because I wanted him to see the whole game, and we allowed him to. He didn't have to move. I didn't see him. He could have been a ref for all I know. He stayed still. We didn't shift him. We didn't challenge him. We didn't press him. We didn't press. Odegaard was the only person pressing. No one else wanted to press. It was like collectively we didn't really know what to do. And when we did get the ball, I felt we played with fear. A lot of the time we would get the ball and we would play the easy pass. We'd go backwards with the ball. It would be very passive possession. And it was very frustrating that. In the home game, I felt, whilst we were a lot better than this game, I felt they knew exactly how to play against us so we couldn't get our key players on the ball.
Jack, there were periods of that first half, mate. Now, again, we've got to think of the American listeners. The only comparison I can think is over here, we've got Curry's. Now, over there, you got Best Buy, haven't you?
Yes,
I believe it, which is like your equivalent. You know, when you go there and you're just looking, all of a sudden, swarm. You're right, mate. It's like, whoa, hang on, I've only just walked through the door. You got someone trying to sell you something, and it's like, yeah, just having a look, mate. And they go, oh, okay. All of a sudden, 2 seconds later, how you doing, mate? You're like, mate, leave me alone. They were just, it was like 3 or 4, like you, and Gabriel had to kick it for throw-ins about 4 times because he's like, who's helping? Like you said, we're playing the safe pass. There were times he couldn't even do that. So we were booting it for throw-ins. And like we've talked about the last couple of weeks, a throw-in for an opposition side at the moment is like a corner, the way we're going. Yeah. I mean, they score from one of our throw-ins. We mess up a throw-in and they score from it.
Yeah.
Haaland's won.
Despite the three draws before, I still saw a bit of us in those games. A bit of what we said in the season. This was watching. I don't know if you've heard of the Dark Mirror series or whatever it is. This was the Dark Mirror of us. I did not recognise us at all. At all. We couldn't even. Normally my mum watches the game with me, but she was in the kitchen yesterday. She was feeling a bit better, and she was in the kitchen and doing well. She does it even when she's feeling rubbish, but so she wasn't watching it, but she was like popping her head in there a couple of times. Said, "What's happening?" I was going. I didn't even answer. I was just like, "Forget it," because it. Do you know what? You know what made me laugh? You know when we started seeing a bit of the possession in the second half, they'd gone down to first gear, and they were still controlling it. That's what made me laugh. I thought, all right, we're seeing a bit of the ball now. We're stringing 2 or 3 passes together, which we couldn't even do in the first half, let alone 2 passes. We couldn't get nothing together. We could not get nothing together at all. And even when we were, they had dropped out the first gear, and they still looked in utter control. That is frightening for me, because whilst I thought this season, wow, we have come on so far, which we have to a certain degree, because some of those teams that everyone used to laugh at saying we could never beat, we've beaten, and we've done all of that even in away games. And then all of a sudden, I saw the game yesterday. Not just putting aside the game, the reverse fixture at the Emirates earlier. And I thought, wow, we are still so far behind them, aren't we? So far behind them. And that was the frightening thing. And that is the kind of stuff that Arteta has got to address, guys.
The ultimate level of disrespect for me is when a team will give you the ball because they know you can do jack shit with it.
Did Rob Holding all first half, didn't they?
They knew. They were like, they ain't doing nothing. So just let them,
Yep. The ones they close fast are obvious, aren't they? They close Jesus. They close Martinelli. Didn't want him touching the ball. Didn't want him getting near Carl Walker. And they didn't allow him to, did they? Really, he barely got on the ball at all. He was non-existent, unfortunately. And I don't blame Martinelli really at all for it. I blame the collective. But Neil's right. We've got to address that we look miles apart from them. And I mean, I take solace in the fact that it was so clear, and Arteta, we know he sees everything, right? We know he might be stubborn, he might not make his subs at the right time, he might stick with a team a game or two too long, all this sort of stuff. We're saying all this, but we know we got the right man in charge, we know we got the right board in charge in terms of Edu being there, we know we identify the right players. We also know this is the youngest team in the league, so the argument against us getting better, whilst making additions, which we definitely will go big just like everyone. We won't go as big as Chelsea, but they can, they're trying to fight relegation. Teams that fight relegation do go big. You know what I mean? Fight for their lives, bless them. So, we're going to go big again. And this time, like Neil said earlier in the pod, we've got the pull, which we haven't had since 2016, of saying, hey, we're at the big table again. We are Champions League. Do you know what I mean? And that's huge. I think that's huge for young players. Knowing, I think Saicedo spoke about us the other day, and he said, I love that they give young players a chance at that club. And we'll still say, I think we said it last year, even more now. You're a player from 21 to 24, and you want to play every week, and you're a top player. You're going to Arsenal. I think you're going to Arsenal. It's just whether we want you. So I'm so excited. I mean, me, James, we love I think I almost love the squad building more than the games in a way, because I wonder where we're going from here, and I'm still so excited.
James, this is going to be your best season ever in the summer, I tell you.
Oh, we're love it.
Don't.
We're already talking about it.
I might have to mute the group, guys. You're not going to be on it 24/7.
Mate, me, Jack, and Michael have spent the money already. We've done it.
Exactly.
We've done the budget.
Yeah, exactly.
We just need it signed off at the bottom. We've submitted it to the club. We just need them to sign it.
We've not got a bad track record over the last few years, have we?
I'm like, don't pay all these bloody experts. You only need us three. We'll sort it all out.
You called Trossard. I called Tommy Asu. There's been plenty on the list. But when you see,
I will say after yesterday as well, every team now that we're going to be competing with has got a big burly bastard centre forward. And do you know what? I thought, do we need one? I think we do, because you've got to have that something different. We need a 6'4", 6'5", something or other. I don't know who, I don't know where, but because
as an option at least.
Yeah, because we got to have something that we can hit long, that can head down to. When a Martinelli or a Saka like that, you got to have someone that might win that first ball, and he could probably head it to someone like a Martinelli or whatever to run onto. You got to find one. You got to find one. I mean,
I agree.
We had that. So we got that Swedish lad on loan, haven't we? That's meant to be the new Ibrahimovic that we've never seen. I don't know if he'll do it.
I love he's doing well.
Moller, whatever he said. Oh yeah, I don't know. I think he plays in second tier of Dutch football, is where we've loaned him to. But got to get something of that calibre now for me.
It's going to be very interesting. I think he's going to be very ruthless on players that we don't expect. I think he's going to be very ruthless. I do, and I agree with you on that one. I think we need a different profile up there. I mean, Jesus come in for a lot of criticism, and I think people are forgetting that I think Trossard should have held his position a little longer or rotated a bit more with him, because Jesus is still coming back from injury. You know, you can't be playing him 90 minutes all the time or starting him every game. You know, when you've got 2 games a week, I think people are forgetting 4 months out is not nothing. I don't think we've as such eased him in. Once he started against Leeds, he's just been in. And then people have likened that to our deterioration in form, but I don't really link it too much there. I think he should have trusted in Trossard a little bit more to start games. He clearly likes Trossard, and I think he will trust in him more next season, because we'll have the 2 games a week, and he's a very, very good player. I mean, he showed he didn't create Holding's goal to create a 3-1. But
that was the thing. When he come back in and he started scoring, they're like, "Oh, how can you drop Jesus when he's getting the numbers and everything?" Trossard's still pulling up numbers though. Yeah. It might not be goals, but the guy's getting assists.
Yeah, exactly. Got another one, yeah.
Yeah, for me, I would drop Jesus against Chelsea and put Trossard down the middle.
Yeah, what changes would we make? We'll talk a little bit about the game against Chelsea, because it's still important for the fans. You know, you want to end the season well. You want to make sure at the very least we make City win those games. You know, we don't just hand it completely to them. Though some people might argue we did with the West Ham and the Southampton stuff. But so what changes? You changed? Yeah, make a change there.
Trossard, Tierney, Emil Smith Rowe. I want to see them all. Reece Nelson. Yeah. Honestly, I want to see them all.
When you see it, yeah.
No, yeah, I do, Jack. I mean, you might think that might be too much, and that might be too much of an experiment and a gamble. And if not from the start, a lot more of the time, because they all of them. I think Emil Smith Rowe is quite rightly. I mean, to be honest, you can't say that he came on and he did nothing, because none of them did anything really. But I think he just hasn't had the chance. He just has not had the chance that he fully deserves. He's a great player, and I don't want to see him go. And I'm really scared of that now. And that will break my heart, more so than even when Jack Wilshere started struggling with his injuries. I mean, I want to see him play against Chelsea. I want to see Reece Nelson, Trossard, 100% should start. Not come on, he should start. I thought when we had the formula of Trossard, Martinelli and Saka, we were doing so well. Go back to that. I think Jesus will not be ready even from a mental point of view now, because I think that's going to hurt him yesterday even more so than maybe some of the other players. And I'd even play Tierney.
He was in tears on the bench, Neil.
Yeah, well, there you go.
When he come off and he walked around and they all started clapping him, when Haaland's goal went in, it was deliberate, but they panned to him just as in the like, that's the striker they sold to bring this guy in. And he looked like he was welling up. He had like tears in his eyes because he knew, I've got that close.
Yeah. I want to see Tierney as well. I know. Yeah. You might think I'm going mental, but
I would take Zinchenko out of the firing line. I think he's been dreadful the last couple of games, and I've backed him all season.
You won't be surprised. You won't be surprised to hear that I don't want to see Tierney, and I would play Kiwior left back. And I'll tell you why I'd play him left back. Because they play every bloody centre-back they've got at left-back, City. 6'5". They don't go forward at all. Let's see what happens with it. We can't defend. We can't concede in every game. Kyrgios's going to be with us next season, and Kieran Tierney isn't. I don't want to see any players that are going to be with us next season. Get Rob Holding out of the team. We're going to sell him to Bournemouth. We'll get Tierney out. He's not going to stay. We know he's not going to stay. I know a lot of people arguing me that he's not going to stay. He started 5 games in the Premier League this season. He's not going to stay. He's not going to stay. We're going to sell him for whatever reason. He's not going to stay. So
I take that back. You're right. I forgot about that. I forgot about Kiwi, actually, stupidly enough. So yeah, you're right.
I still think there's a chance we sell Jorginho in the summer. People will be shocked with that. But I think he's a complete short-term deal, Jorginho. And I think if we're looking at who we think we're looking at, let's say we go get Caicedo, we've still got Partey on, and Elneny's given a new contract. What are you doing? So my thing is, I want to see players that I know are going to be part of the future of the club. So if we're giving Reece Nelson a new contract, start him. If we're not, I don't want to see him. But, they obviously know that internally. But I think, obviously, like we all say, we should see a few changes in the next game. Just because you're on 3 points out of the last 4. It's not a good form, is it? Worst form of the season. There has to be consequences for that from Mikel Arteta. Otherwise, they're doing exactly what you said. And I think James said, just playing players knowing that they're going to play the next game no matter what happens. There's no consequence. And, we haven't had to do that too much this season because we've had such a terrific season. But this is the time to do it, I think. This is the time to do it. Home game, let's make those adjustments, But I think 4-1 was probably a fair result overall. When it went to 3-1, I was like, I think it flatters us a little bit, to be honest, because we've been second best all over the pitch. But I agree with you both. I think Trossard and Nelson and Jorginho, they came on and they at least showed a little bit. They showed they wanted to make a difference. They wanted.
Can we just give a shout out to Holding, because that was a great sweet finish. That was a lovely goal, actually.
I love his wink after it. Yeah. I love his wink, like we're back in this, lads, kind of thing. Like, what is that about? I don't dislike Holding. It's not his fault. He's as bad as what he is. We know where his weaknesses are. It's not his fault. And then people were arguing, like my dad was arguing yesterday, with, well, Jack, why are we playing him then? I was like, well, to be honest, there isn't really a logical change to make unless you're going to change the system, is there? Because you've lost Tomiyasu too. It's the combination of Saliba and Tomiyasu that's really cost us. He's third choice in that position, let's be honest. And
Jack, you had shouts throughout the week of move Ben White back in there and play that Walters at right back. Can you imagine if we played a kid in that game and he got absolutely walloped to bits?
Yeah.
You'd be like, why are you playing a bloody kid in our most important game? I probably would have been the first one to do it.
Yeah. He played in the West Ham under-18s game. We lost 5-1, didn't he, a day before?
It's ridiculous. It's just absolutely ridiculous.
James, what's Dockie's name?
Cody.
Huh?
Yeah, look, she's staring now.
Cody?
Yeah.
Cody with a C. Cody.
Yeah, Cody.
Oh, Cody.
Oh, Cody.
Yeah.
She is she's so cute. What's she looking at? She's looking out the window.
Birds in the garden.
Oh, birds.
Yeah.
Look, for a new right centre back.
Yeah.
She's so sweet. Sorry, I just had to bring that in.
It's all right.
Sorry to interrupt you.
For all you pod listeners, you'll have to believe in the visual of this.
Yeah. It's a cute West Highland Terrier for all you audio.
Very, very calm. As calm as I was watching us at 3-0 down.
Yeah, chuck her at centre back.
Yeah. Yeah, she moves better than a few of ours, which is good. Which is good. Very cute, very cute. But we were, where were we? I mean, we were 4. Yeah, it was 4-1 down, and then you see the I said, well, I want us to be emotional, but controlled. And again, we showed it in the wrong moments. Xhaka putting Grealish in their headlock. White lost it with Foden after, which I quite liked. There's obviously previous there, I think. He's not just done that. There's some previous there. He's got some previous with some of the England players amongst the squad. He has. There's stuff going on there with White. And, the front, I think it's terrific. I like White a lot. But we do need a fullback in. Like James said, he talked about Zinchenko and Trent. We need a fullback in that is able, I believe, to play on both sides, but also able to play that inverted role, but be much more reliable defensively. We cannot do what Liverpool have done with Trent, which has been oblivious to it, and just keep playing him when the structure isn't around him. Zinchenko, to me, looks like the player that when your first 11 is playing and you're playing at your best, you play Zinchenko. But when it slightly deviates and you need your left back to sit more, win more balls, defend better, not push up high, I don't think he's a player to play. He's a player to play when everything's sort of perfect, like your typical number 10 would be, which is basically what he is from the left back. So we need that. We need Ivan Fresneda in on July 1st or whatever it is. But that's what we need. We need that double-sided player. I mean, Tomiyasu could do it to a certain degree, but let's face it, he's made of glass. So, how much can you rely upon it? But it's 4-1. We don't play at the weekend. City do. We're all Fulham. Well, I've always liked Fulham. I'm mad about them. Leno, Willian. It's basically, your poor man's Arsenal, isn't it? So we're up to Fulham. I'll be putting my biscuit hands on and praying that they become a lot stronger for we're going to need him to put in the performance of his life, aren't we? But
always love Mitrovic. He's what a player.
Isn't he banned for about 6 years?
Yeah, more probably. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's ruined them, isn't it? Fulham went from like 6th to 10th since Mitrovic been banned or something. They're not the same side that we came up against a few weeks ago when we were actually terrific. That was when we were playing really good football. Gosh, how much difference 3 or 4 weeks makes. But Neil, I think we played Chelsea on Tuesday. Obviously, it's a really disappointing game to come off of this. By the way, on Saliba, I think we should just announce he's done, by the way. There's no worth in bringing him back now. I just don't see the point in risking it. I know they keep saying, we'll go week by week. Just call that, get him better. Get him a pen is what we need to do.
Well, this is what I was going to ask, Jack. You're our medical man. If you've got a bad back, does that stop you from holding a pen in your hand?
It shouldn't.
I need to know. I need to know.
It's
a
tough.
bit worrying, that.
James, believe me, it's tough. It hurts.
Can you not just get him? Can you get him one with a stamp? Like some of the celebs have when they can't be bothered to do autograph. Just bang. Get him one of them.
That thing.
Just get him to sign it, for God's sake.
He has to sign.
That's a big one.
He's on a year next season. I don't think people are taking this seriously enough.
Whilst
and they think it's a given that you're going to renew.
I know.
I don't think it is.
No, his one was always going to be the hard one, and the fact we haven't announced. Look, we haven't announced Saka yet, so I'm not yet freaking out. But I would say come the start of the summer window, you want those two tied down. I mean, we're moaning about right centre back, and we haven't even got the guy that we want to be there signed up yet. So we have to get him signed up before we look at what budget we have to do what. We've got to get him signed up. Him, Saka signed up. The other deals, I don't think there's anything too imminent that we're too worried about. We're probably going to upgrade Odegaard still. Maybe look at Ramsdale's, that kind of stuff. But But we play Chelsea on Tuesday. They're in a bad run of form as well. But like you said, James, against us, people are just getting chance after chance. So some people say you can't see where our next win's coming from. Neil, in saying that, what is your prediction for Tuesday? You want to see some changes to the lineup? Do you think you will, though? Is the question. And what's your prediction?
I think we will see a couple. I'm not saying I don't think we'll see as many as I cited, but we'll see a couple. I'm sure. Yeah. If we don't, then I'm going to leave as soon as I get in the stadium.
You're going, you two? No, just
I'm going. So you better bloody put some changes in. You better bloody, sorry to swear, we better turn up. We better put a performance in. I want to see a performance. Well, I want to see the Arsenal from the run we had, the 7 wins. I want to see that Arsenal back, just to finish off the season. So yeah, I'd like to see some changes. I 100% want to see Trossard start. I want to see him start. I want to see him run on that pitch and be there, in the lineup, physically line up on the pitch. That's what I want to see. But yeah, I mean, God. Chelsea have been woeful, haven't they? And you can just bet your bottom dollar they come to us, especially seeing how it's been in the last few games for us now, and they'll put a performance in. But I'd like to say we'll still beat them. It can't go on for another game. Surely it can't, especially if Trossard plays. I think he'll give us that dimension. He'll give us something different, and it will give us give Martinelli and Saka something to aim at. think we'll win. I actually think we'll win 3-1. Yeah, I know. I just they are terrible. They are terrible. They're all over the place. Brentford. I mean, this is the thing. Another thing I just thought of just for a second yesterday. I thought everyone was laughing at us for beating Brentford. Well, Chelsea couldn't do it, could they? With their 5,000 billion trillion squad. So yeah, shut up. But yeah, 3-1. Who's our scorer? Who's going to score? Trossard, 3-1.
Trossard, 3-1. Yeah, I think he that will be one that it definitely starts. James, what about you, mate?
Yeah, I hope that Trossard starts down the middle, but in terms of changes other than that, I think you are right. We want more, but I think you're right. He's not going to play people that aren't going to be here, probably other than Holding. But yeah, I think it's going to be a nervy 2-1. I think we're going to win, but I don't think it's going to be as decisive and everything as people are making it out to be. The one thing I will say is they, especially with Kepa, they leave such opportunities for long-range goals. They stand so far away, and then he's one of them that puts Lurpak on his gloves before a game as well. So I would just be going, if you've got a good 15 to 18 yards there, smack the ball, because it's either going in or he's going to punch it straight to somebody else. So I'd be like, just shoot on sight and see what happens. But
yeah,
you know what? You know us. We've still got to score the perfect goal FC sometimes. So
yeah, exactly.
We'll see what happens.
2-1. Top first score, goal score.
I think we're going to score from a set piece. So I'm going to go Gabriel.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I hope to see a couple of changes as well. Trossard, I'd like to see. I wouldn't be against a change in the back line. I don't know how you do it. Get Kirill in there somehow. Get him some minutes. You know, like I said, I just want to see players that are going to be part of the future blooded at this point. Because you know it's got. We remember our Invincible season started from a point like this. By the way, so it started from a point like this where we'd finished second to United. Should have won the league. Didn't. And then we went on from there. I remember us bashing Southampton 6-0. Yeah, I was there for that one. Pires scored actually in the same game, I think.
That's it.
Yeah, with that goal from the halfway line almost. But so yeah, a couple of changes. I'd like to see Trossard come in. Maybe Nelson if he's going to stick with him. Definitely Trossard. Just worry about a few players that have been thinking about the title all season and now they know it's out of their grasp. Are they still as motivated? So I don't know who they would be, but if we're not feeling that, draw those players out. If Zinchenko's like that, get him out. Put Kirill in, put someone else in. Make the change that we need to make. You know. So yeah, I don't know. I'll go, which is probably the least likely, but I'll go 1-0. 1-0 Arsenal.
I'd take it.
Yeah, I'd take any win, wouldn't you? I'd take any win. Because at this point, you know, you think a couple of wins basically sounds so, but basically gets us to second. I'll go.
Just give me something. yeah. At this point, you just anything.
Exactly. It's weird, isn't it, how it changes? But 1-0 Martinelli. I'll go 1-0 Martinelli. Who do you want? Who do you boys want? Because now we're in it. We're definitely there. Man City haven't qualified for the Champions League next season, by the way. Just letting you know. So yeah, they might be there. They might not. But assuming we're there and Man City there, who do you want the other two to be? Because I want it to stay as it is. I would quite like United. I don't like Newcastle or United, but I find it funnier for Chelsea, Tottenham, and Liverpool not to be in the Champions League. So.
Yeah, no, I can't have that leprechaun giving it the big one on social media. So yeah, Man United fans. Of course, I know loads of them because I live in Essex.
They're local.
Well, yeah, and in terms of Newcastle, I don't speak to Ant or Deck, so I couldn't care less about them either. So that's
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, same. Unless someone like Brighton or Villa get in there, that would be funny as well. But
I'd love to see Brighton and Villa. That'd be brilliant, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Unfortunately, Brighton lost for us to get.
No, but the only problem is if Brighton get there, we'll have less chances of getting their players. So no, I don't want Brighton there.
Oh, that's a good point. That is a good point. We definitely want.
Do you know my phone is going mad? It started. Liverpool fans sending me every picture in the book. Arsenal crumble.
Yeah, I've got to say.
Gone. You know, one of the shapes of the pentagon and all that.
Yeah, I've got Liverpool fans doing that.
Do they have ears? Is that one? Does he have ears?
It's a rectangle. You can measure the angles of his head, each corner of his head. I did it.
Oh.
I froze his picture and then I put a rectangle over it. And I thought,
I know Conor McGregor likes the old PEDs, but this one injects it into his bloody head. His head gets big. Every video and I've got a massive head. My head is humongous, but this guy, it's like he's putting HGH in his bloody, his dome. It just goes like that every time.
HGH.
It's unreal. It's unreal.
But the thing with Liverpool fans, if they're texting you, I've got about 2 years of them laughing at me being in the Europa League, and there's a good chance, probably not. I mean, there is a good chance if they keep winning but then drop 1 or 2 points, they're going to fall right in there. And they'd rather finish 8th. If you talk to any Liverpool fans, they'd rather finish 8th if they're not going to finish 4th. Them falling right in there for a club like theirs, which is like ours in terms of having to manage the squad and not quite being able to get as many players in as they want every window. Europa League could really affect their ability to do well in the Premier League, to be honest. Even if they do rotate the team, because you're still travelling on a Thursday, you're still popping back on a Friday, having 1 or 2 days to prepare for the weekend games. We all know what it's like. So it would be quite funny, personally, if the likes of Tottenham and Liverpool fell right into that 5th and 6th bracket. I would laugh my head off.
Mate, I had a Liverpool fan the other day saying, I want the Conference League so that we can win that and then we've won all of them. I was just like, that's the problem. I'm like, this is what's wrong. This is what's wrong.
Do it. I'll let them have it.
Oh, mate, it was like when you used to go, years and years ago, when you go to Legoland, they used to have a little thing where you'd sieve rocks, and if you found a gold nugget, you get a medal. Regardless, that's the equivalent of winning the Conference League.
Yeah, exactly. West Ham might do it, which is crazy. I don't know what that means. I think they get Europa League if they do that.
Yeah.
So that'll be very interesting. But yeah, so I guess the relegation scrap and the top 4 scrap is kind of what to watch out for now at this point. And we're playing a few teams that are fighting for it. The Brightons and Newcastle's definitely not got an easy run. So let's hope on Tuesday. We're disappointed, we're frustrated, we're upset. Very poor performance against City. Players, they owe the fans a good performance, don't they? They really do. We've had a good season, but we've had a really tough month. So,
are they going to give the money back to the people that went there yesterday?
No, not like Spurs.
Like the other lot. I was going to say I might see if I can Photoshop a ticket stub, see if I can get some cash.
Yeah, exactly. We won't do that. No chance. Our season ticket prices are going to treble next season for everybody else.
Yeah, they will. You're right.
They'll go flipping. Yeah, we're back in the Champions League.
And even if you can afford it, you still won't be able to bloody get one. Yeah,
exactly.
That's right.
Yeah, they know exactly what to do.
It's £1 million quid a game for a Category C match. I still can't get it. Even if I got £1 million quid, still can't get it.
Whatever they want. If they want me to buy a few more tops and they can get me Diaby, Fresneda and Saicedo in, I'll be fine with that. I do really think, though, at times when you watch the likes of Mahrez and Alvarez and Foden come on for 5 minutes in games like this, as big as this, I look at Bukayo Saka and I think we really could do with a player close to his level.
That's what I'm saying.
Where you're watching it, because let's be honest, I thought Mahrez was going to start this game, and he didn't even feature until the last 5 minutes when the game was
unbelievable.
10 minutes. Do you know what I mean? Imagine being able to do that with Saka in a game of that magnitude. Imagine being able to do that. And that's the sort of, whilst I like Reece Nelson, I don't ever see him being that player to that level. So if you sign him up or not, great. We still need that right winger in for me. I think we need it more than the central striker. It's been too long where we've hung Bukayo Saka out to dry. We're not protecting him the way we should do. We've done it a little bit with Martinelli because Trossard can play those minutes plus the central minutes. We need a player, ideally that can play both sides, but one that specifically can play a bit more on the right. And in theory, we've looked at that with Rafinha and other players in the past. So I hope we revisit it.
Well, you've been saying it for ages, Shout, that we need. You were even citing that more than the central midfielder that we were looking at. You're saying, no, I want that position filled first.
Yeah.
So I agree. I still would like to see Reece though, Jack, because I think with the
he can play both sides. That's the good thing about Reece.
Yeah,
he can play both sides.
But also with the extra competition, they're going to get games. There's going to be plenty of games for them to be able to get their teeth into. And you know, we might get that player that will be just as good or just a slightly lower level than Saka in, as you say, but we don't know if they're going to be off and running right from the get go. That's my only concern. And if that's the case, and they need a few games to bed in, then that's where we might the Reece Nelson of this world will be really useful as well. So I'd love to see Reece. I think there's something really special about Reece this season, and I want him to stay 100%.
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah, he's not signed it. I don't think we're offering him a huge amount, which indicates to me that he would probably have to be accepting of a role where he's, you know, a rotational sort of player. It sounds like he wants to stay, but again, when the free contract comes up, he might be getting offered a lot more money elsewhere. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't say it's a given, because he probably is getting a lot of Premier League offers for probably more money. I think he's on a very low wage. He's our lowest wage, I think, at the club. So we might not be offering him more than like 30 grand a week or something like that. And I presume he's probably getting off a bit like Emi Martinez was. He was getting offered a lot more money elsewhere than we were offering him, because he's been with us so long and all that sort of stuff. So, but I think we've looked for a couple of years now, and or maybe a couple of windows now, and we've not done it. And I want it to be a top player like the Moussa Diaby, who might go and win Europa League, by the way. And he's amazing. Every game I watch him in, the guy is unbelievable. He's really good. I don't know how he doesn't play for France more, but obviously they got Mbappe and Kingsley Coman and all this kind of stuff. But he is really good. He's exactly the type of profile we need. Experienced, young, unbelievable left foot, super fast. I think he's the second fastest player in Europe behind Mudryk. You know, really, really fast, really good. And he's probably going to cost, 60, 70 million, but isn't everyone nowadays? I think we also have to remember, before we go, is that as good as Trossard is, as good as Jorginho has done at moments, they were both cheaper options, and they weren't future-proof options either. And they weren't really what we originally were looking at. So we can't forget to go back in and do that. We're going to do it at midfield, and we can't forget to go back in and do it at the wing. I don't think we will, but now's the time to go and do it when you're in the Champions League and everyone wants to come to you. So yeah, anything else to say, boys, before we go? We're good. Thank you, boys.
I think we've summed it all up, haven't we?
Yeah,
as best we could.
Exactly. Guys, it's been a good hour. Tough watch. We'll be back after Tuesday's hopeful win. We've got to get back to winning ways and just enjoy the rest of the season. Bye, Neil.
That's
bye,
been
James.
the best
bye, Cody.
thing of the last 24 hours, seeing Cody on this pod. I loved it.
Neil's going to be on here every
She
week.
wants to attack those birds out. So honestly, she wants to go out there and mash up some pigeons, I think.
Let her go and play. Well, boys, up the Arsenal, up the Fulham. You never know.